Oh, I'll be right with you. All right. Oh, hi there. I'm so sorry. I just sort of assumed that you were one of the locals coming in. They normally just seat themselves or help themselves or just kind of bark at me what they want and then I get it for them. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you were new here. Sorry. Welcome to Danwood. Welcome to the Danwood Inn and Tavern. My name is Dinara. What can I do for you today? Oh, you're looking for a room? Excellent. Yeah, we've got quite a few rooms here above the tavern. They're nothing incredibly fancy, I suppose. Not what you might find at somewhere like, Eshan or the capital or something like that. But they're warm and they're dry. Beds are comfortable. It's a pretty nice place to lay your head and rest for the evening. Does that sound good? Excellent. Get you all set up with a room then. Do you know how long you'll be here with us? Oh, you're not sure? Okay. Well, where are you from, if you don't mind me asking, if you're not from Danwood? Oh, Whisperwind. Okay. Yeah, no, I know Whisperwind. It's not too far from here. There's an inventor that comes here, Isabel, pretty often from Whisperwind. Yeah, she's over here getting parts, or I know she gets a lot of orders from people from Danwood too, so she's coming in to drop off things like that or get new orders. I think the people of Danwood keep her pretty busy. We don't have anyone quite so interesting as her here, I guess. But Danwood is a very safe place. It's comfortable. It's home. Everyone knows everyone, and everyone feels safe around everyone. It's pretty nice. So, are you originally from Whisperwind? Oh, you're not? Oh, you stay at the tavern there. Okay, well, then I'm very glad that you're here. You'll get to actually experience what an inn is supposed to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. They do what they can at the Whisperwind Tavern. I know that it's not really meant to be an inn. Whisperwind doesn't really need an inn because nobody really goes there. I mean, it's quite out of the way and it's quite small. But here at the Danwood Inn, I think you'll find that we have far more services, far more of what makes an inn comfortable, memorable. So yeah, we'll definitely get you a room. Can I start you off with a drink first? Okay, great. Yeah, what would you like? Oh, well, we have all your basics, I guess, and then some other special locally brewed things. Yeah, we're pretty proud here in Danwood of our breweries. Quite a few farmers here grow barley or hops or things like that, so we make a lot of our own things. There's a lot of interesting cultural flavors around here. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, we have a lot of special ales. And then some meads too right now, which are really wonderful. What? Are ales and meads pretty much the same thing? Okay, you're definitely not from Danwood, are you? No. Ales and meads are totally different. They have somewhat of the same process, I guess, with how you make them. A little bit. But that's pretty much where the similarities end. You see, ale. When you make an ale, you need grain and malt. Now, malt is what you make from toasting a grain. And you toast it in a very specific way. In fact, there are actually quite a lot of farmers around here who are maltsters, which means they make their own kinds of malts. And you dry out the grain, and then you actually get it just a little bit wet so it starts to sprout. And then when it's just a little bit sprouted, you toast it in like a kiln or something like that. And depending on how much heat you use and how long you toast them, you get different flavors in your malt. And malt is responsible for the color of ale, the distinct aroma, and a lot of the flavors of it as well. So you start with the grain. You put the grain into water and you let it steep. You let it kind of boil, almost like you're making tea. And then once it's nice and hot, you take out the grain and you add the malt and you let that kind of boil together with the base that you made from the grain. And then after that, you add something called hops. Now hops they're these little plants. They almost look like little baby pine cones, except that they're green and they're more leafy as opposed to the hard sort of wooden texture of a pine cone. And hops are very, very influential in the different tastes of an ale. And different variations of hops give you different flavors. So there are some hops that make ale more bitter, or some that make it more citrusy, or fruity, or earthy, or grassy even, or all different kinds of flavors. There are some that we call bright, some that we call heavy, all different kinds of variations. And usually when a farmer grows hops, they have kind of their trademark kind of hops that they grow. And depending on what hops you add to the wort, that's what it's called when you have just the grain and the malt, depending on what you add to that is what gives you the flavor of the ale. So then after you add the hops, you let that all kind of boil together for a while. Then you take it off the heat, you cool it pretty rapidly, and then that's when you add the yeast. And that's where the actual fermentation happens that creates the alcohol. And it eats off a lot of the sugar, and that's what gives it that sort of bitter, kind of tangy taste that you get with an ale. Now, of course, that's just the base of an ale. After that, you can add all kinds of different things. You can add vanilla, you can add chocolate, you can add even wood chips. When you're letting the ale sit, you can put wood chips in it, and it gives it this nice sort of woody, almost sort of a roasted taste to it. It's quite good. So there are lots of different farmers around here who like to experiment with different flavors and different combinations of malts and hops and other things that they might add to make all kinds of different flavors. So that's your ale. Now mead is completely different. Mead was actually one of the very first alcoholic beverages ever made, which is pretty cool. And with mead, you don't need grain and you don't need malts and hops and all that kind of stuff. All you need is water and honey. So you mix the water and honey together to make the honey a little bit more thin, I guess. It sort of breaks down the sugars. I think that's the reasoning behind it. And that's called a must. And then you can add different flavors to the must as well. Normal mead is just the honey and water, but you can also add fruits. Citruses are very popular. Pear is very popular as well. You can get a nice spiced pear mead. And then you also add the yeast to let it ferment for a while. So that's the similarity between ale and mead, is that they both have that fermentation process. But besides that, they are very, very, very different. So I have quite a few drinks back here that are very, very special to our area. Would you like to try a few? Wonderful. Here, let's see. Let's start with this one. This one, you can tell it's a nice light golden color. This is what we call a pale ale. So it doesn't have any extra flavors added to it. It really is just all about the malt and the hops, really. Pale ales are somewhat medium-bodied, which means it has a good amount of flavor, but not so many different flavors kind of competing at the same time. And it's relatively easy to drink. It's a great introductory ale, I suppose. But even with pale ale, depending on who brews it and depending on what kind of malts and what kind of hops you use, you can get all kinds of different flavors. Some pale ales are very bitter. Some pale ales might be a little more citrusy. And some might be kind of a balance between the flavor and the bitterness. So if someone were just starting to sort of explore ales and wanted to learn different things about them, my suggestion would be to try different pale ales from different brewers. And then you can kind of compare and contrast those and see what flavors stand out to you and which ones you like. And then from there you can kind of explore different flavorings and different additives and all that kind of stuff. It's really quite an interesting profession. You know, my father, we own the Inn and Tavern, but he also has a brewery next door. So a lot of the things that we sell here, he actually makes. Would you like to try some of this pale ale? Wonderful. There you are. Should be enough for a little taste there for you. See how you like that. What did you think of that? Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, that's a nice flavor to that one. Like I said, it's just a very comfortable flavor. It's not too strong, it's not too alcoholic. It's just a nice, easy beverage to drink. Now, if you wanted something that had a little more to it, you could try something like this. This is called a stout. Now, it's still an ale. A stout is a certain kind of ale. And stouts are characteristically very sweet, and they have almost a creamy texture to it in your mouth. It kind of feels nice and smooth and very full-bodied. Now, some people think with a stout that this dark color means that it's going to be very heavy and maybe difficult to drink. But stouts are actually, as far as ales go, very, very sweet. So it kind of helps to counteract that bitterness a little bit. Stouts often have flavors that are almost reminiscent of coffee or cooking something smoked. You know, that sort of roasted taste to it. And sometimes they even have hints that might remind you of some decadent chocolate. It's very good. It's almost a dessert, really. This is another one that my father makes. It's very popular around here, especially with all the farmers coming in after a long day. They just want a nice, pleasant drink. Something that goes down smooth and reminds them of the nicer things in life. Would you like to try some of this one? Excellent. There we are. Give that one a try and see how you like it. It'd be interesting to see how you liked the pale ale versus this one. Because like I said, they both are ales. They're made in generally the same way, but just quite a different flavor index with this one. How is that one? Good. I'm glad you like that one. That's one of my personal favorites too. it feels nice when you're drinking it. Very smooth, very rich in flavor. Very nice. Now, since you've tried a few ales, would you like to try some meads now? Sort of see the differences there? Wonderful. I have a few different ones that we could try. Let's start with this one. So this is just a nice basic mead. Well, I say basic. Nothing that we serve here is basic. It's all wonderfully handcrafted. It's just there aren't any extra flavors in here. So you really just get honey as the star of the show. So this mead, you can see it's still pretty light in color because like I said, it is just honey and water for the base, and then you put the yeast in, let it ferment for a while, and then you sit it on the shelf for a few months or even several years before you actually drink it. So this mead is going to give you similar feelings to that first pale ale, but this is going to be just that bit sweeter. It doesn't have quite the same bitterness as an ale does. It's a very, very pleasant drink. Like I said, historically, this was one of the very first alcoholic beverages ever made. So let's see how you like this one. There we are. That should be enough for a little taste of this one. See what that one does for you. What do you think of that mead? Okay, good, good. I'm glad you like that too. So how do you think you like the mead versus the ale? Because they are very, very different flavors. Now, some people prefer ale and some people prefer mead, and that's perfectly fine. It's just down to personal preference. But what do you think out of the three so far? Which is your favorite? Okay, okay. Good to know. Now, since we tried an ale that had a little more to it, maybe we should try a mead that has a little more to it too, huh? Okay. This is one. It's actually a relatively new flavor that my father has been playing around with. You see, meads are, it's very common to add fruits to them, and you can get all sorts of different flavors. And technically, when you add fruit to a mead, it becomes something called a melamel. Most people don't know that. They just think it's a fruity mead, which is perfectly fine. But if you're actually in the business of brewing, then you know it's called a melamel, and it's got fruit in it. So my father has this fabulous one that's actually made with mead and blackberries. Now, blackberries have a very strong, almost kind of a tangy flavor to them. And he gets them when they're nice and ripe and adds them into the mead, and it makes this fabulous, fabulous beverage. Would you like to try some? Okay, great. Here we are. It's very dark. It's almost a little bit intimidating when you just see it like this. But obviously it's made from blackberries, which is a very dark berry, so it makes sense. You mix purple with the golden color of a mead, and what you get is almost sort of a very dark purple, even a little bit black. But it's very good. It's got just this amazing different balance of flavors in it. You've got the sweet from the honey, but the tangy from the blackberry. Again, very full-bodied. Quite special. Would you like to try some? Excellent. You done with that little bit of the mead? Okay. Here we are. Give that one a try. That one you would be hard-pressed to find anywhere else in the kingdom. I don't know that I've ever heard of someone selling a blackberry melamel before. Give that a try, see what you think. What do you think? Okay, great. Good. I'm glad you like that one too. I thought that was very interesting when my father first had me taste it. Yeah, it's just a very different flavor, but I thought it was really good. So, would you like to try some more, or would you like to pick one of those 4 to actually have a full drink of? Okay, which one would you like? Excellent choice. Excellent choice. Just a moment. The stout, our dessert ale. There you are. There's a pint of that one for you. Here, I get these littler glasses out of your way. There. Well, thank you for entertaining me while I tell you about our different drinks. Quite passionate about it. Not just because my father makes them, but it's fun. It's fascinating, all the different things that you can do with them. So, you said you wanted a room here too, right? Okay, yeah, let me get my ledger. I'll get you all set up for a room, okay? Okay. Where did I put? Ah, here we are. Okay. All right, and what's the name for the room? Oh, yeah, just a first name is fine. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. It's an interesting name. All right, and you said you weren't sure how many nights you were going to be staying here, right? Okay. Well, in that case, maybe we could put you down for 3 nights, and then, if you need to pay for more than that afterwards, we can do it that way. Is that okay? Okay. I'll start with 3 nights. If you don't mind me asking, what's your business in Danwood? You're going into the forest. Shadowmoore Forest, the forest right outside of Den. Do you know what that forest is like? Why on earth would you want to go into Shadowmoore Forest? Oh. You're sure that what you need is in there? I can't talk you out of going there. There are stories about Shadowmoore Forest. It is a dark and dangerous place. I mean, even all of us growing up as children, we were told these awful stories about it, warned to never go there. Well, okay, one of the stories, it's about this young woman who she was supposed to be, she was engaged to be married. She was betrothed to someone here in Danwood. But it was it wasn't the Shadow Wars, it was another smaller war, I suppose. And her fiancé was drafted into the militia for the kingdom, and he went away, and he didn't die. Unfortunately, he actually fell in love with another woman. And he came back to tell her that. And she was so distraught that she ran into the forest. And she was wearing this lovely red flowing dress, apparently. And she ran into the forest, and she was never seen again. Until about a year later. And someone heard on the wind that sort of comes from Shadowmoore. There are strange noises and things that happen all the time from there, but on the wind that night there seemed to be a particularly clear moaning, almost a crying, almost a sob of a woman. And then someone said that they were sort of looking past the fence and the gate that stops people from going into Shadowmoore. And they saw this figure that was almost ghost-like, almost corpse-like. It didn't really look like a human. They were grayish and gaunt and very disturbing looking. And they were wearing the tatters of a red flowing dress. And now every year or so, on the anniversary of the day that her lover came and told her that he had found someone else, if you are around here, you can hear those moanings. And if you're close enough to the forest and you dare to go close enough to see, you can see the figure, just barely make out the figure of a woman standing there in a tattered red dress, moaning for the loss of her love. That's just one of the stories. Trust me, there are so many things. And I mean, even if you don't believe in ghost stories, maybe, there's enough darkness about that place that everyone knows not to go to Shadowmoore Forest. Are you sure you're going to go there? I really can't talk you out of it. All right. Well, I'm definitely going to need that room payment up front then. I can tell you that. At least 3 days. Because people who go into Shadowmoore from here, they don't come back. All right, well, I mean, I guess I really have no right to stop you, but please just be very, very careful. There are all kinds of creatures that live there, especially the Arachnea. You know about the Arachnea, right? Yeah, these huge half spider, half human creatures that creep around in the woods. And apparently, I mean, I don't go near the borders of the forest, but the watchmen and people who try to keep track of that sort of thing to keep the town safe, they say that every year the Arachnea's territory grows more and more and more. And they've taken over almost this half of the forest by now. Oh, someone gave you anti-venom. Well, I mean, that would help. Yeah, I mean, obviously Arachnea are very, very venomous, so if they can't bite you and paralyze you, I suppose that would help. But you do realize they also have webs. What happens if you just get trapped in one of their webs? Even if you took anti-venom, they can just wait until it wears off, or just wait until you starve to death, and then they can eat you. I don't think anti-venom is going to keep you safe. Not from all of them. A guide? A guide through shadow? No, there's no one in Danwood who would dare go in there. Especially not as a guide. Certainly not. I don't care how much you have to pay. That's not going to happen. I told you, everyone around here is scared of that forest. We completely avoid it. I mean, did you notice the huge fence, the huge border that was built right across the bridge separating us? Yeah, it's there for a reason, because everyone avoids Shadowmoore. Like the plague. Worse than the plague, actually, because it's right there. We can always see it. It's the only thing about Danwood that is not safe and secure and all of those things that I said Danwood was. This is a safe place to live, as long as you don't go into Shadowmoore. You're still determined to go. Well, I mean, you've got some very nice armor there that you're wearing. Are you an adventurer by any chance? Sort of. Okay, well, I mean, you've got the armor. That's a very nice helmet that you're wearing too. Okay, I mean, I suppose if anyone would be able to survive in there, maybe it's a strong, brave adventurer type like you. I am gonna need that room payment though up front. We'll hold it for you for a few days, but I mean, if someone comes and they need a room, it's business, you understand. I mean, we won't throw out your stuff, I guess, but I can't just wait around forever when you're probably dead. Okay. Oh yeah, it's 2 gold a night, if that's all right. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Let me get my pouch over here. Here we go. All right, well, I'll write down that you've paid for 3 nights at least. Okay. Well, when are you heading into the forest? I mean, it's pretty late today. I would guess you probably don't want to go into a dark, creepy forest at night. That's even worse. Okay, you're leaving tomorrow morning. Well, can I top off your drink first? Have one last night of warmth and comfort and a good drink before you head off to your adventure. Okay, here, let me get you a little more stout. There you go. Oh, for the drink? You know what? It's on the house. Yeah, call it a farewell. I mean, maybe you'll be okay. If anyone would be okay, it would be an adventurer who is used to danger. I mean, maybe it's not as dangerous as some of the other exciting places that an adventurer would go to. I've lived here my whole life, so I don't really know much else about the kingdom besides this place. But I know that Danwood is safe. And I know that Shadowmoore is not. But, you know, there's always a first time for everything, right? Maybe you'll be fine. Well, I should go make sure all of the other guests are doing okay. Can I get you anything else before you head up for the night? Okay, well, enjoy your drink. Good luck tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll see you again.